Religion 101, The Gospels of Nikola Tesla. An overview. Welcome to Religion 101. My name is William Herdina, and I'll be walking you through a brief introduction to the Gospels of Nikola Tesla, the foundational documents of the Church of Invention, known most commonly in the press as the Church of Tesla, the fastest-growing religious organization in the world with more than 300 million members around the globe. Okay. So let's get started with the most obvious question. What are the Gospels of Nikola Tesla? The Gospels of Nikola Tesla consist of 4 books: the Gospel of Mark, the Gospel of Matthew, the Gospel of Luke, and the Gospel of John, each written independently, one per decade from the 1960s to the 1990s, and collected for the first time in one official volume in 2016. Each gospel is a collection of stories, parables, and biographical details from the life of Nikola Tesla. The Gospel of Mark. Mark Prognitus wrote the first Tesla Gospel in Chicago, Illinois. The initial print run consisted of only 50 hardbound copies. It's estimated that those original 50 copies were broken apart and Xeroxed nearly 30,000 times before the Gospel ever came out as a properly printed volume. A popular saying from the 1980s went, "Only 100 people read the Gospel of Mark in 1962, but every one that did went out and started a religion." The Gospel's popularity truly exploded in 1968, when Timothy Leary proclaimed the Gospel of Mark as one of the maybe 5 books written in the 20th century that were still going to be relevant in the 21st. The Gospel of Matthew. The second Gospel is, by far, the most controversial of the 4 original texts, due entirely to the author and the circumstances under which the second Gospel was written. Known as the corrupted Gospel, it came from the mind of a marketing executive named Matthew Carys in 1974. Later historians would unearth proof that Matthew wrote the Gospel at the behest of the head of the American Chamber of Commerce, who saw the original book as potentially dangerous due to its advocacy of worshiping constant change and never-ending evolution. Rather than purging the corrupted gospel, most members of the Tesla Church celebrate its presence as a wonderful example of the myriad ways any situation can be viewed. The Gospel of Luke. The Gospel of Luke, also known as the hippie gospel, can be read as an open repudiation of the power of the individual, so championed by the Gospel of Matthew. Many acknowledge the Gospel of Luke as a crucial shift leading to the Church of Tesla becoming an organized religion. Prior to Luke, the idea of change is presented as a phenomenon. Luke treats it as a metaphysical force with the primacy once reserved for deities. There are also references to the early days of the Change Organization, a vital group to the history of the 4th Gospel's author, which brings us to the Gospel of John. Joan Renatus was one of only 3 survivors of the massacre at the Change Organization's Detroit headquarters in 1985, where the Detroit mayor and fire chief let 8 square blocks burn as retaliation for the support the neighborhood residents showed the Tesla-inspired church. In her 20s, Joan went on to pen the most compassionate and, to many scholars and believers, the most important of the 4 Gospels. Centered on a conversation between Tesla and the man who kept his pigeons before and after Tesla's death, the Gospel of John offers the essential elements of what later became the modern Tesla Church. So what does the change revolution mean to your life? It means that you no longer need to fear the torrent of novelty you're faced with as a member of the human race. Before Tesla, religion tended to treat people like sheep. Jesus literally refers to his people as his flock. The Church of Invention doesn't want barn animals. It wants free people with open eyes about the reality of the world and the benefits that come from embracing it. Joining the church means that you are free to live your life, riding the currents of change, to adapt your understanding as new data presents itself. To join the church is to recognize change is the only constant in the life of the modern human. So join us. Be free in the never-ending wash of change, riding its currents like a bobber on the surface of change's turbulent sea. Join the Church of Tesla today And be sure to get yourself a copy of the Gospels of Nikola Tesla, available now at Amazon.com.